So we are live. I'm Andy Williams. This is my Creatively Curious Substack, and I've done sort of regular Fridays. It hasn't been kind of every Friday, but I've tried to meet up with friends and contacts on Substack to have 15 minutes to kind of chat, and it's nice. It's the end of the evening here in on Friday in the UK, so it's a nice way to kind of see out the week. And I'm here with a fantastic guest who I had the privilege of actually taking a few of his classes. He's an award-winning and legendary illustrator, teacher, and creator, Sterling Hundley. Thanks so much for coming onto the podcast,
Yeah.
onto the chat.
Andrew, thanks so much for having me.
Um,
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and I found kind of I've done a couple of courses with you, and I've found your kind of perspective incredibly inspiring and insightful. So it's a great opportunity to have you here to chat with you here. To kick us off, could you just I've given a slight introduction, but could you give an introduction to the people that are logging on and watching in terms of who you are and kind of what you're about?
Sure. So Sterling Hundley, and you just covered that, but I've been an illustrator for many years. I'm also a professor at Virginia Commonwealth University. And for the longest time, my illustration career was kind of a the vessel that I was using to accomplish the things that I wanted to. So book covers, editorial covers. I've gotten into video game art and work for films, movies, movie posters. And through this, I kind of found that there was a need to explain a process to the students. So I resisted the idea of explaining that, well, I did this because it feels right, or this was an intuition.
Yeah.
So I tried to unpack intuition in the classroom. And I think that I arrived at a process that I use, that I employ, that really is a pattern that I started to see everywhere. So that's kind of where I was professionally and what led me to my teaching position. I've been an entrepreneur. I've started several companies and initiatives, and all of them have been centered around this idea of trying to live an interesting life, and trying to go out and find my own stories that I want to tell, and bringing other people along with me.
Great. And so what was, almost rewinding right back to the start, what was the thing that the spark, the kind of origin for you that really set you on that creative path to kind of have an interest in creative life? Was there something when you were growing up that unlocked that, or was there kind of more, was it later on kind of more in terms of when you were stepping into that career?
So great question. I've always been creative, right? So whether I was an artist or not, I was brought up creative. My dad is an entrepreneur, but he's written 5 novels. He's always taken us out into the field, whether it's hunting or it's looking for Native American artifacts or Civil War artifacts. My mom is from Montana. She's a designer. My grandfather was a park ranger, worked at the National Forest Service, was the #1 guy there for a while. So a lot of our lives, my brother and I, we lived outside, and we were always looking,
Right.
observing, and drawing, finding artifacts. And I'd like to tell people that my childhood was a lot of things that were rust and stone. So between these different artifacts that my mom would, when my dad would find them or buy them, um, she would display them, and we would all go out in the field and look for things, family vacations, whatever it was. It was always, we were looking for interesting things. I think that we were
Yeah.
raised curious, raised creative.
Amazing. One of the things I'd love to kind of chat to you about is, so your kind of work is phenomenal. I love you kind of your illustrations and all of your artwork. And one of the ways that I sort of was introduced to you is that I think it would probably have been around the time of the pandemic. Uh, I have a kind of as a bit of a hobby, I kind of do some drawing, and I thought actually it would be an online class that you were doing would be a fantastic opportunity to kind of scratch that itch. But what I thought was really interesting about the way you were approaching visual art and illustration is how transferable a lot of the concepts that you applied were to the stuff that I was doing on as my day job, where I was producing and interacting with animators and artists, and I found that kind of the concepts you apply to your illustration work were very transferable to other areas. So would you be able to kind of talk a little bit about how you kind of developed and evolved some of those ideas?
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way. So I always wanted to make smart pictures. I wanted my artwork to mean something, to do something, and I would say I'm probably equally creative and logical. And that I'm in
Right,
battle all the time where I'm trying to find alignment with those things. But part of what I teach is because there was no one out there teaching how to make smart pictures. Like here, you can solve this
right,
illustration, you can make things. Here's visually how to approach it. But I looked at, I mean, Brad Holland was a tremendous influence on me, American illustrator of quite great renown, and I just wanted to know how to do it. Like, there's got to be a process because the same people making smart pictures continue to make smart pictures. So there's a system
yeah,
to it. Well, no one taught me, and I had to kind of invent an ideation process for myself. And part of again being in the classroom was I started teaching that to students as something that was transferable. As I started following my curiosity outside of illustration into bigger projects and more immersive projects and things that had more tendrils to them, I realized that, wait, I'm seeing patterns here where these thoughts and concepts are transferable to starting a small business or being a designer or an animator. But more than that, it's led me into partnerships with NASA and healthcare and um, business across the board with CoStar Group and different places like that, where these thoughts and ideas aren't just ways of using creativity to solve visual pictures, but books and writing and words and everything in between. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But the process you were asking about comes from kind of realizing one that there's a pattern, a box that I try to put
yeah,
everything into, and I call this the three-sided box. And there are relative components to every project, every business I've started. It's time, space, industry, audience, and content. Who you're speaking to? What's the
right,
message? Everything's influenced by a constraint of time. Everything's influenced by a constraint of space. And those are the things that we start to think about how to build a structure and take a problem and turn it into a project. That, I think, is kind of the
right.
core of what I'm trying to share.
Great. And I think the other thing that I mean, I really remember the kind of box idea, and also the importance of having that tension between opposites,
Right.
and the fact that kind of at the core of a strong concept and idea is you try and pull out where the opposites are, and then in that clash and that tension, that's where often the kind of the best ideas kind of sit.
Yeah, and this I call my versus theory. So one thing versus another, and you can take music, you can take film, whatever it is. It's like light versus dark, loud versus quiet, fast versus slow. And the more that you can hold those two things that are in conflict in perpetual association with each other, the more that we are hardwired as humans to be drawn to them. So it's a device that can be used to actually uh, bring people's attention in. I've got a good friend, Adam Paquette, who says that we are masters of attention, and I think that's a really important
Right.
thing when we're creative. Like, how do you get people to look at the thing that you're making, to hold their interest? And that is just primal in how we survive
Yeah.
and we live. So for sure.
And so if the illustration kind of industry, along with a lot of kind of visual arts and creative industries, has been pretty disrupted. And I would imagine that it's quite a different industry from the one that you joined when you started your career. Where do you see, I mean, not illustration per se, but kind of visual storytelling and creativity going in the future in terms of with that, with your kind of artist, teacher, and kind of entrepreneurial hats? Where do you have an idea of where those kind of where those areas are kind of trending towards?
It's interesting. I saw a post from Neil Blomkamp recently, and this was a District 9 director. But before that, Neil was doing all these tremendously intricate shorts, and there were a lot of
Right.
visual effects in it. I wasn't surprised recently, and hopefully this is properly attributed, but that he's going to be embracing AI to launch, things that are much more the independent filmmaker, and he's using it as a tool to find his autonomy. Now, before I say that I'm embracing that, I'm just saying that's a prediction of, when you take all these artists who are getting laid off because these companies are embracing technology and replacing them. Well, these are very capable people who are going to say, why would I not go out and use this to be competitive with these multi-billion-dollar industries where I poured my heart and soul, and now I'm going to go do it by myself or with a team of two or three. So it is going to happen. It
Yeah.
just, ethically or unethically, it's going to happen. Um, I also understand the struggle that artists have right now, and it's not just artists, but everybody's going through this. The danger is this, Andrew. Like, if you can take synthesis, which is one of the highest levels of things that we do creatively, and I can synthesize ideas, thoughts, emotions, and manifest them as a story or a visual or something where it connects with another person or other people.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
very, very powerful thing that people can do. I mean, I hold that at the highest level of what human beings are capable of. If you can emulate that through technology, nothing's safe. And
Yeah.
just quickly, I'll share this anecdote. My pastor, I was at church, and he goes, "Yeah, I was just up at this conference, and the guy running this thing said, well, I hate to admit it, but um, sooner or later, we're probably not going to need designers anymore." And I just quickly replied, "Or pastors." So it's one of those things where it's a very slippery slope. It can be empowering. It is very dangerous. Um, Here in the States, certainly we have built a lot of our innovation off of copyright law, off of trademark, off of the capacity to be compensated for our skill set and for the value of
Yeah.
the things that we create. That is in jeopardy. And I don't have a prediction of where that leads to, but my responsibility as a professor teaching in communication arts is that I've completely redesigned my area of focus, and I'm trying to now use these same creative skill sets to build these partnerships, new projects that live outside of pure entertainment. And that's kind of where I'm going with it.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts on it, I guess, are so I've inevitably, I think everyone's had to kind of engage and grapple with what AI means and what the ramifications of it will be. I wonder whether, just following on from something you were saying, is that in some ways, great character designers and great illustrators, I could see some of them being able to utilize um, the what AI delivers to kind of amplify their creativity. And I think there's actually kind of there's a lot of stuff that's low hanging sort of activity that I think um, has been a barrier to somebody being able to do an animation with a small team. And I think AI potentially unlocks that. So I could certainly see somebody that was a great illustrator being able to use AI to suddenly make their illustrations move
Right.
and animate those. So I think this isn't to disregard the very strong arguments around copyright and AI being trained on material that they don't have permission to use. But I do think we're kind of operating with partial information. We don't really understand how people are going to use it. And I think there are potentially opportunities for the smaller operators as well as at the moment we just hear kind of how the big studios are going to use it, but
Right.
I don't know if we've fully explored what opportunities there might be for smaller operators to use AI. And I also think people are people are hungry for a human connection. And this seems a very glib and shallow comparison, but if you see on something like LinkedIn, like a social media platform, that is absolutely rife with people that haven't written their own posts or even their own comments, that
Yeah,
they'll have AI will do the writing for them. But it will be kind of worthless because you know that you're just skating over the surface and you're not actually breaking through and having a connection with a real human being.
right.
So I think that's what creativity and art is all about, is on some level you want to have that human connection. So I feel like as much as AI might want to replicate and people might want it to move into there, I think there are some areas that as humans and as an audience and as a viewer or a kind of or a viewer, that we feel a bit cheated if if that's being created by a machine. So I think we're still trying to grapple with where AI is going to have the most impact, and also where AI will kind of have value for us as a viewer, as an audience.
Yeah, and if I can just touch on that, I wanted, like, you asked me for my prediction of technology.
Yep.
Um, I think it's important to answer with my point of view as an individual. Um, I love the friction of failure, and I think it's a God-given gift, the capacity to be able to create, to make, to design and build, and it's hard, and I love it because it's hard.
Yep.
I play a lot of chess. I'm not any good at it. Computer can do it better, you know, um, but I
Yeah.
enjoy it. I got into rock climbing for a while because it's hard and I fail at it and I enjoy that. And I do believe that we are forgetting, we're looking at the shiny finish and we're forgetting of the human struggle. And like, what compels someone to make something? Well, they suffer, they struggle, they feel
Mm.
joy, they feel excitement, and they want to take those ideas, thoughts, and emotions and share them with other people. And that is the point of art,
Yep.
is in the sharing. And it's not just the making, it's not the having made. It's, I'm going to continue to evolve and learn about myself and learn about the world through the suffering. So a lot of people who may not have the requisite skill set to make things look at the shiny finish. It's like, oh, I can make the thing now. It's like, I feel immense joy and pride in the struggle and getting on the other side of it. So, what AI does on procedural generation imagery, it's a black box. We don't know how it's made. It
Mm.
just does it. Um, so that is my argument as an artist. And on the other side, working in the medical industry now, I also fully expect that machine learning is going to aid in the solving of some of the world's most devastating maladies and suffering. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's like atomic energy. It's like fusion. It's like anything. It's got a double edge to it. And anyways, I have two different answers depending on the hat that I'm wearing.
Yeah. Well, and in some ways that goes back to kind of some of the conceptual algorithm that you were talking about at the start, which is it's that tension between 2 points. Um, and I think with AI, there's what I what I still am not sure about is there's such a crucial failure, and mistakes are such a crucial aspect of creativity. They're the mistake is the doorway into a discovery where you think, actually, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
And so you don't want something that necessarily predetermines all the answers, because you want to have that possibility of error and mistakes that leads you down a new path.
Well stated. In fact, I got to a place, Andrew, where I was working and I knew how it would come out. Like, the idea was done, the drawing's done, here's my technique, and I hated it. I hated the knowing,
Right.
well, why bother to make it if I know where it's leading? And um, so that's a great point that you just made, that you suffer through it to learn and to discover. And it's the same thing. If I go back to the first question you asked, my parents put us out in nature. We traveled, we saw things, I learned. I feel like I have something to say, and art and creativity is one pathway through which I want to say it. So go live a rich life and make art about it. I mean, that's what a gift that is for all of us.
Absolutely. That feels like a great place to end it. So thanks so much for your time, Sterling. It's been really great to chat.
Andrew, it's been my pleasure.
Great. And I hope everyone that's been logging on and watching has enjoyed that as well. I will share the clips on Substack, and I'll share it on LinkedIn as well for anyone that's missed it. Thanks very much. Thanks, Sterling.
Thanks, Andrew. Cheers.